Hello, and welcome to the first edition of Fun Facts in the Car with NewAgeServerAlarm. This is where the intro would play, but I'm probably not going to make one. So what is Fun Facts with NewAgeServerAlarm in the car? Well, every day after work, hopefully, I'm going to make a short video about 5 minutes long where I talk about some piece of information that I learned, or that's something I already know and I just want to share with people, such as tips, code stuff, other different things, okay? So this is going to be the first one, alright? So, NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, is the foremost authority on fire alarm codes in the country. They're pretty much used everywhere, alright? And there are several books that alarm people need to know about. NFPA 70, NFPA 72, and NFPA 101. First book I'm going to talk about is NFPA 101, which is called the National Life Safety Code. How this relates to alarms is that the National Life Safety Code determines what buildings are required to have fire alarm systems and what types of fire alarm systems are required to be put in those buildings and stuff like that. NFPA 101 also talks about stuff like exit signs and push bars on doors to open doors and other different life safety things, such as like caution barriers, okay? That's what NFPA 101 is. Oh yeah, and sprinklers. NFPA 70, the National Electrical Code, does not have a whole lot to say about fire alarm, except for Article 760. What Article 760 is it talks about how fire alarm system wiring is to be installed, how it is to be run through buildings, how it is to be run through conduit, and how it is to be terminated, supported, and where it should be placed in relation to other cables like high voltage cables. Here's a question for the people in the comments. Can you run fire alarm cable and 120 volt cable in the same conduit? Yes or no? Anyway, NFPA 72 is the actual fire alarm code, the National Fire Alarm Code. And this book talks about how systems are to be designed, engineered, installed, maintained, repaired, and inspected. Okay? This talks about all the details on the alarm systems itself. So here's a few examples for you. If you want to find out If you want to find out the mounting height of a horn strobe or the mounting height of a pull station, you'd look in NFPA 72. If you want to find out what type of alarm cables or what type of wiring is allowed to be used for fire alarms, you look in NFPA 70. If you want to find out if a shoe store about 50 square feet store requires a fire alarm system, which it won't, you'd look in NFPA 101. Alright? So, here's a couple of fun facts from the code books that I could share. First one is types of cable. A lot of people think you're only allowed to use FPL, fire alarm cable. It means fire protection lead, or something like that, I think. I don't remember. Some people think you're only allowed to use fire alarm cable for fire alarm wiring. This actually is not true. FPL is the preferred type of cable. However, you are allowed to use CMR, or actually CM cable. CM is another classification of cable. And pretty much the only difference between FPL and CM is the color of the jacket. It's not really much difference between the two cables except for the color of the jacket. CM is usually gray or white, and FPL, as most people know, is red. Another interesting thing that I share about here is residential fire alarm systems. A lot of people want to know this. Residential fire alarm systems are permitted to be installed as long as they meet the codes in NFPA 72. However, these codes do make exceptions. You do not have to follow the commercial codes for a residential system. Chapter 29 has its own set of codes related to residential systems. And these people driving in front of me are being stupid. Anyway, also another interesting thing that people are going to be interested in is... Hang on, let me think about it. What was it? I forgot what it was. So, residential fire systems. Really? You fail that hard at making a turn? Alright, sorry. My annoyance at drivers was getting there. Okay, the one last thing. National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, makes the code books for the industry. However, the code books themselves are just books in themselves. They are not the actual codes, okay? What determines if the code book is code is the authority having jurisdiction, more frequently referred to as the AHJ. And this can be a fire department or a local government, a state government, fire marshal's office, anyone that has the authority to do inspections and determine what systems are to be in, and determine alarm system stuff, okay? Now, an AHJ can choose to either adopt the code as is and not make any changes, or they can take the code and make their own amendments to the code for their specific needs. For example, the city of Portland, Maine, requires that all new fire alarm systems be addressable. They don't allow conventional anymore for new systems. That's not in NFPA 72. That's specific to the city of Portland. There are obviously some other places. One of the strictest of them all, though, is the city of Chicago. They've got the strictest alarm code they've got probably the strictest alarm code in the country. California's up there too. But anyway, what you read in the NFPA books may not apply to your area. So, if you read something in a code book, it most likely will apply to your area, but there is the chance that it won't. So, if you want to look up the codes, be sure to check with your local governments to see if they're using the books as is or if they have any changes. So, that's about it for New Age Server Alarms Fun Facts, Episode 1. I expect to be making these videos on Mondays and Fridays until December, when the schedule is going to change. My work schedule will change. So, everyone have a great day.